Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Yeah, you know what it is. Hard worker, scrappy, unfiltered, and sometimes unhinged football content. Hard to explain, but you know it when you see it. Doing it daily our way. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Redraft and Dynasty Fantasy Football, we got you covered. You know their defense is ranked like 31st in the NFL? NFL draft prospects and rookies? Now you know you in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then stop saying it. Then we're done. And prop bets with my man Jay Rich.
Count that money, man.
Now wipe the crust out of your eyes, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake your ass up with Ray G. You honestly are making absolutely no sense and you sound silly as hell.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. It is Wednesday, September 14th. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This is Wake Up with Jay Rich. Ray was given the day off today because I got someone special in store. I'm excited to see everybody in the comments. So many people commenting. Ray had to get his intro in. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. We got a lot of people in the chat. Stone's in here. Wesley, Dynasty Barry, John, Kenneth, Jeff. I saw Joe, Lindsay, Max, CJ, Christopher. Good morning to everybody out there. Great, excited show today. We're doing Thursday Night Football. We're going to talk some Monday Night Football. But I got to get right into it. I have a guest today for the show. It is Troy King of Football Guys. He does podcasts over there. He does some writing over there. He's also a contributor for the Fantasy Playbook run by Kyle Yates. I'm excited because Troy is someone that I have seen grow in this industry for so long. I have a ton of respect for him. He is, just a super cool dude. Thirsty gentleman extraordinaire. Thank God we did not get him on for a Thursday. But Troy, welcome to the show, my guy. How are you doing?
Yo, man, I am doing excellent. And for the people, we weren't expecting Ray. Listen, I'm a black guy. I'm bald. But I have a beard. So in a way, I'm kind of like an upgrade, sort of. You know what I mean? So but no, okay. It's good to be here, Jay Rich. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to talk to the people. I'm excited to talk about some football today.
No, I appreciate that. And like you said, it's funny. That's the same joke I had in mind. We just took a bald black guy and threw another bald black guy in his place. And now
but I got a beard, though, so it's different.
You're a little more sophisticated, right? You have glasses too?
I do have glasses, but I wasn't going to do it because that would have been too much. Like, I'm not trying to be like Ray, you know what I mean? I was going to be like, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, like he does. But I'm like, I wasn't going to do all that.
No, Troy, we're super excited to have you on the show. Obviously, a big announcement coming at the end of the show, so everyone stay tuned for that. But, Troy, let's get into the news. A lot of things have been happening simply beyond Monday Night Football, and we do have to dive into that first. So let's get into straight facts. So as you guys can see, I am wearing the Seahawks jersey. I want you in the comments to guess whose jersey it is. I gave Troy a couple hints pre-show, and he actually got it on his first guess, so congratulations to you, my friend. But this is straight facts, represent nothing but, and the Seattle Seahawks got a win over the Denver Broncos on Monday Night Football, 17-16 in an epic collapse by the Broncos, in my opinion. But, Troy, what's your biggest takeaway from this game? There's a lot of angles you can go. The fumbles were obviously huge, but what's your biggest takeaway from Seahawks versus Broncos on Monday Night Football?
My biggest takeaway is that Javonte Williams is the guy. I feel like we have a lot of people who are drafting fantasy football. I know they were nervous about the split, and I think that Javonte Williams, I wouldn't say fell, but didn't go as high as maybe he would have if Melvin Gordon didn't re-sign. But the split to me was very obvious, right? It's going to be the Javonte Williams show with a little bit of, Melvin Gordon sprinkled in. He got 12 targets. I don't see that being the norm. He will be involved in the passing game, but the Seahawks were just absolutely relentless against, Russell Wilson. So I feel like that was one of the reasons for the dump offs. And it was also weird that it took him so long to target one of his wide receivers. I don't think that's going to be normal either, but I think the Javonte Williams show is real and it's here.
Yeah, I think to your point about the Javonte Williams show and kind of adding into that whole analysis was that the Seahawks played cover 2 most of the game. And so that forced a lot of dump downs early. And on top of this is just a theme that we've seen over the past couple of years. Like last year, the Seahawks allowed 1,100 receiving yards to the running back position alone. And that was the most in the league by over 200 yards. So when I was coming into this game and looking at how I think that the Seahawks would be attacked on the other end, I assumed there would be a lot of dump offs because this is how the teams attacked them last year. And we saw that come into play. You obviously, like you mentioned, Javonte Williams, 12 targets, 11 receptions. It's insane how much work he got, but it was also necessary. Russell Wilson wasn't able to target his guys downfield. It wasn't really until there was a few broken plays that he actually got the ball to Cortland Sutton, and the bomb to Jerry Jeudy was honestly just him throwing up a prayer that Jeudy came down with, made a play, broke a tackle, and ran for a touchdown. I'm not sure what to make of this offense. Obviously, Nathaniel Hackett made a ton of mistakes in the red zone. Obviously, at the end of the game, and that whole clock disaster. He came out today and said they should have went for it on 4th and 5. It's easy to say that, and but again, Troy, and I'm sure you felt the same way. Watching that unfold, it looked like one of the biggest coaching disasters I've seen in some time. Like, yes, he's a new head coach, but it still just felt like such a rookie mistake that you're like, he better learn from this, because taking the ball out of your star quarterback's hands is not a situation that you're going to want to do ever again. But how did you feel about that last few minutes on the clock? Because honestly, one of the worst coaching performances I've seen, and I get he's a rookie, but even still, it was just a disaster through and through.
Yeah, and I think one of the other key things about late in the quarter, during that time frame, is that they took forever to call a timeout. So they called a timeout to then kick the field goal. So you wasted like 30 seconds just to call a timeout. I'm like, what is happening here? Like, the whole clock management, the whole decision making was absolute disaster. In terms of one of the biggest coaching disasters ever, I'm not gonna go that far. It's week 1, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna overreact that way. But it was the fact that everyone in the world was watching it, and look, we're not head coaches, we're not smart as head coaches, but in that situation, I was definitely, capable of making that play and making that decision. So. And then also, you're not paying Russell Wilson $200 million for him not to be able to convert a 4th and 5, to try to win the game. It's just, I don't understand what his logic. Look, I was roasting him on Twitter. He did come out and admit that he was wrong. He admitted he was wrong, which is okay, cool. But I just want to know, I want to know what the assistant coaches were thinking. Like, yo, bro, what are you doing? But again, 64 yards. It's one thing if it was like a 40-yarder. Okay, fine. But
50-yarder even.
Yards,
yeah.
Or 50-yarder. That would have made more sense. But it's just it was a complete disaster. And look, they'll get better. They have to get better. I was not expecting the Seahawks to win. But you know what? I think they'll be fine. I am worried about the Broncos in terms of the division. I think they're going to come at best 3rd place. At best.
Yeah, no, I think that's a big point. We were talking about it in the Discord yesterday, how this is arguably one of their easiest games on the schedule. They have to play 6 games in division, which we know will all be tough, and they have to play 3 games against the NFC West. And by far, the Seahawks are the easiest game of those 9 games. So I don't really know how they're going to make this game up. It's just one of those games that they had to have, and they didn't get it done. And yes, it's week 1, but in a division as tough as they're in, it's going to be very difficult to overcome that. And there may be a point where we may even be saying, are the Raiders even better than they are? Just because they haven't quite gelled, they haven't quite got it together. I'm not going to write them off yet, but to your point, you definitely have to win this game against the Seahawks. It's inexcusable that they lost. It's more than just the timeouts at the end, but that was their last shot, and it seemed like they made them that mistake as well, on top of the 2 fumbles at the goal line. So there's lots for them to clean up, but again, I think that the biggest thing is they need some time to gel. Hackett obviously needs to learn some things as a head coach, learn from this experience, but I do think they will be fine overall. Now, going to the other side of the ball, though, Troy, how did you feel about Rashad Penny? Because I think he's one of the biggest stories here. We can talk about Geno Smith and how accurate he was, how good he looked, but I mean, not a whole lot that he did for his receivers. Team leader was Kobe Parkinson with 43 yards. The next was Will Dissly with 43 yards as well. DK only had 36, Lockett 28. I think Penny was the show, and he's the guy that everyone wanted in fantasy, but kind of faded because of Ken Walker. Ken Walker's expected to be back next week. How are you looking at this backfield now, knowing that Walker's going to be back, and how good Penny looked this first week? Because, in my opinion, he looked great. He had multiple runs called back. He could have easily had 100 yards in this game if things broke his way. Where are you at with Penny and Walker going forward in fantasy football?
I say until further notice, I think Penny's still the guy. I think even when Kenneth Walker does come back, it's like, okay, he's coming back off an injury and he's a rookie. Mm-hmm. Is he going to his first game back? Is he going to command a high opportunity share? I don't think so, right? He's going to get worked in. Let's see. Maybe they both look good. But Rashad Penny, look, he's been doing this since the end of last year, right? He's been looking good in last year. And then the thing about Rashad Penny is we've been dealing with injuries, right? We're always making jokes about him. We're always roasting the dude because he can't stay healthy. So
Yeah.
if he's able to keep up this pace for the rest of the year, this guy could be a high-end RB2 in fantasy football, but it's just hard to trust him. And then he doesn't have that much. Like, I think the lack of pass catching is a little bit worrisome too, but I think he's going to get goal line opportunities. So yeah, I think Rashad Penny looked good. We'll just have to see, right? His game script, is Geno Smith always going to look this good, right? I think it depends on the competition, because if they're behind, or if it's not a close game and behind, are they still going to use Penny as much? Are we going to see more Travis Homer, DJ Dallas, Ken Walker? Look, he's not a prolific pass catcher, so how does he fit into it? So I say he looked good, but I'm trying to, pause enthusiasm, right? Like, it looked good week 1, but let's see if he could stay healthy. Let's see if he could keep it up.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that he looked great, and the biggest thing for me was he was breaking tackles off of first contact, and he wasn't going down early and making guys miss in the hole. And I think that's the Penny that we all expected out of college, that we didn't really see, who's been hurt a lot. But it's looking like even behind that Seattle Seahawks offensive line, which we didn't believe would be very good, he looked all right. Denver was a team that wasn't great against the run last year, so that is a big factor. And when they face better teams against the run, he may do a little bit worse. They do see San Francisco this week, which should be an interesting matchup for the Seahawks. But I do think that Penny could be a guy who has some value a little bit longer than people were expecting. But the last question I want to ask you about this game is, where are you at? Judy or Sutton? Who's the guy you're rolling with going forward? Who's going to be the wide receiver one for fantasy football?
I still think it's Sutton. Look, Judy got lucky with that touchdown.
Lucky,
right?
come on. Lucky is that. I don't know about lucky.
Okay, maybe lucky is not the correct term, but here's the thing. And I don't like doing the whole take away the touchdown thing. Look, he scored, he helped you for fantasy, but he was a target. I feel like the targets. He eventually got targeted later in the game, but to me, I just feel like Sutton. He's the bigger body. I just feel like, to me, and it's hard to decipher from that game, right? Because none of them look particularly fantastic, right? It's just, but if I had to still choose, I'm still gonna go Sutton. I just feel like I like the deeper targets for him, and I just think that with the red zone, I see Sutton being, look, he's a bigger body, right? I feel like Sutton's a great end zone target, and obviously you have Alberto and it's Andrew Beck now, who got the first 3 targets of the game.
Let's go, yeah.
So I say for the time being, I'm gonna go Sutton until further notice.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying in the comments, some are saying Judy, some are saying Sutton. You take away the long touchdown, they're about even. Both saw 7 targets, both had 4 receptions. Obviously, Judy did get the longer touchdown, and there was a few broken plays to Courtland Sutton, but he did get his deep shots as well, just wasn't able to convert. Russ underthrowing the ball a lot in that game, which is kind of surprising when you think about it. Ray is saying Judy, though. Ray seems to think Judy's the guy. I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either, but I feel like it's not a lot to take away from this game, right? It's just, I feel like we can't look at this game and be like, okay, we absolutely know which one it is. And I saw Hamler. It's absolutely not Hamler. we know that. I know my guy's joking, but it's absolutely not him. That's one thing I could say with confidence, that it's not him.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's not going to be Hamler season probably for a long time. But so moving forward now, I want to talk about Dak Prescott, because Dak Prescott has his thumb. He fractured his thumb. He got surgery on it. People were projecting 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. He got his surgery, and then it came out yesterday, Jerry Jones talking about how, well, we're not going to put Dak on IR because we think he's going to be back before 4 games. Troy, what are you doing with Dak Prescott? Do you believe Jerry Jones? What do we do with Dallas? CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, Zeke Elliott? Pretty much useless without Dak Prescott, but how are you treating these guys in fantasy football right now, knowing that Dak is injured? Let's start with Dak. How do you feel about him, knowing you got to wait 4 weeks? Would you drop him in redraft, or would you hold on to him, hoping he comes back and looks good?
I'm going to say, so first off, I want to address, I don't believe anything that Jerry Jones says. So if he was truly only out 4 weeks, which I don't believe he is, then it might be worth, if you have enough bench space. And I think it's all dependent on your league, right? If you have enough bench space to stash Dak, and he, quote unquote, only going to be gone for 4 weeks, sure. But I'm going to be more on the pessimistic side, right? I think that he's going to be out close to that 6 to 8 week range, right? And so that's my take on it. So, and then now let's go to the pass catchers. The pass catch. So, to talk about that, I would, and if it's a single QB league, I don't think you necessarily have to keep Dak. Let's be honest, he ain't look that great anyway. The first game, he's not always gonna look that bad. But I feel like in one QB leagues, unless you have one of the elite guys, I feel like QB production for the most part is pretty easy to replace. Like, look, it's from on the waiver wire. So I'll say that. In terms of the other guys, look, everybody is everyone gets a huge downgrade. Zeke Elliott to me, he looked so good running the ball, and they just went away from him. He only had 9 rushing attempts. I'm thinking to myself, look, they gave Tony Pollard, a few rushes, but in the game, Zeke looked really good, and they just got away from that. And I don't know why. I know they got down, but they should have kept feeding the ball to Zeke. And I feel that with Cooper Rush, it's going to be gross, right? Because I think they're going to rely on Zeke heavily now, because you're not going to just give Cooper Rush the ball and just have him chuck it, a bunch of times a game. But I think if you're gonna be playing Zeke, you're going to be doing it off of volume alone, and you're going to pray that he scores a touchdown. But with Tony Pollard, he's the pass catching. It just everyone gets a look. I don't need to tell y'all this. Everyone gets a huge downgrade. But for Zeke, I feel like you're going to, and also he's a better pass blocker than Tony Pollard. So I feel like
that's a big factor too.
More. So I say that you can still use Zeke as a low-end RB2, maybe. I think that's where he's going to be, just based off volume alone. Pollard in PPR, flex play, I guess. I'm not very excited about him. Maybe. CeeDee Lamb's just been disappointing in terms of expectations every single year. And look, this was just one game, I get it, but people have been talking about CeeDee Lamb in the tier of Justin Jefferson's, the A.J. Browns, the Cooper Kupps, and CeeDee's just not there. We haven't seen it yet, right? And I was expecting this game, like, okay, he's going to get targeted. He got targeted a lot, but And again, I'm trying not to overreact to one game, but look, now you have Cooper Rush targets going to CeeDee. Like, I
not much different.
A lot of exactly knowledge. So he's going to be a low end wide receiver too at this point. With that, again, you're hoping he gets the volume and somehow just PPRs his way into fantasy relevance. That's the only thing you could really hope for CeeDee. And I think Dalton Schultz might be one of the only consistent guys, because tight end landscape is in general not great. So I feel like you can still start Dalton Schultz, and I think that he's the only one that, out of all of them, he's the one I'm least concerned about. I'm still concerned, but in terms of just the position itself compared to the other positions, I guess he's the one I have most confidence in.
Yeah, absolutely. And Elwood said it right here. Dak was not throwing catchable passes, right? And neither was Cooper Rush. So, we love CeeDee getting all these targets, and he had an OPI that, brought back another reception, which didn't help either. But Dak was looking bad regardless of the injury. And maybe it's Tampa Bay and their offense and their defense was humming really well, and they were covering everybody on the back end, but the offensive line just was not getting it done. It's reminding me of the DJ Moore-ish career arc, right? Where it's like he keeps on supposed to being the guy, and while DJ Moore has had horrible quarterback play pretty much his entire career, now we're looking at, CeeDee top 5 dynasty wide receiver, Ray?
Nah, to me, no, he's not. I think he's still top 10, but I could think of a bunch of guys I'm putting ahead of CeeDee right now.
Yeah, and there's guys that can still ascend over him. Like, if you want to make the case, and Troy, I'll ask you straight up, I know Ray would probably make this case, Michael Pittman or CeeDee Lamb. Which one are you taking?
Well, it's funny. I saw that on Twitter. Like, people were talking about that. At this very moment, give me Michael Pittman Jr. But the only thing I'm a little hesitant about is, at least I know with CeeDee, he's going to be tied to Dak. Dak's still the future. After this year with Matt Ryan, I have no idea who Michael Pittman's quarterback is going to be.
Yeah,
I'm assuming So that's the only thing that I'm a little hesitant about. Granted, last year, Michael Pittman put up solid numbers with Carson Wentz, right? Even though Carson Wentz looked really good week 1.
Carson Wentz balled, right?
I say talent-wise, I think CeeDee Lamb is the more talented wide receiver. But if I'm talking strictly for we got to talk about fantasy football, right? So at this time, maybe it's recency bias. I much prefer having Pittman at this very point in time.
Good man. That's the correct answer. I would take Michael Pittman too. I don't even think it's that close. I traded Dak Prescott in a 14-team dynasty league. I am very concerned, right? And we were talking about it yesterday, is where is the bottom for his value? Even if he does come back, it's like that offensive line still looked terrible. He still looked bad. There's a lot of reasons why we should maybe be fading the Cowboys simply beyond this Dak injury. And Mike McCarthy still calling plays, which doesn't help at all either. But let's shift gears to the Baltimore Ravens and J.K. Dobbins, who we've been waiting to see hit the field for well over a year now. Actually, in this interview that he did with a local TV station, he talked about, Troy, how he's never played in front of the Baltimore fans before. And I didn't realize that because he was hurt all of last year, and then his rookie year was the COVID season. So he's never played in front of an entire full stadium in Baltimore before. But in an interview yesterday, he talked about how he actually tore his ACL, his LCL, his meniscus, and his hamstring. There was fears and uncertainty about it was more than just an ACL for J.K. Dobbins, and that's the reason why he's not coming back off injury. But Troy, if he is active this Sunday against your Dolphins, I believe actually, and we will get into that a little bit if we have enough time, would you play J.K. Dobbins knowing this new fact that he has multiple ligament injuries and still we're not even sure if he's ready to play yet?
I would prefer not to play J.K. Dobbins, but it all depends on your team structure, right? If we're talking about your normal redraft league, if you have J.K. Dobbins on your team, I'm assuming he's your running back too. So unless you have a lot of running back depth and you're able to replace J.K. Dobbins, then cool. I would try to pivot if possible, but I'm not saying you have to play, James Cook because he looked terrible over J.K. Dobbins. So you really have to look at your opportunity cost when you're making that decision. But to me, I'm skeptical. I will say, though, the Dolphins, even though they looked okay against the Patriots rushing, they're not that great at stopping the run. That's been a Achilles heel for them for the past few years. So we know the Ravens are absolutely going to be running it down their throats. So if he's active and you don't have any other options, fine. But it really just depends on what's your opportunity cost. I'm nervous. I would like to see how he looks. If he goes off on my bench, cool, and then I could just play him the rest of the year. But in his first game back after not playing football for quite some time, and look, he wasn't able to start last week. To me, I know it's not exactly similar, but look at what happened with Chris Godwin, right? The Bucs, They played him. He got re-injured and up. It's, he's hurt for an extended amount of time. So there's a little bit of trepidation for me when it comes to playing JK, but it really just depends on what your options are. Some people don't have a choice. So slot me RB2 spot and pray for the best, but I'll try to pivot to different options if I can.
No, yeah, I'm absolutely with you. I think you have to. And just, again, hearing him talk about the injury and our injury doctor, Jeff Mueller, who will probably talk about it on his injury podcast, which comes out on Sunday on the DD radio feed. He said that it's fantastic that JK is playing at all. If he does play and him seeing him back on the field, it's not a miracle, but it is something that is very, very good to see, because coming back from all these injuries, you're basically reconstructing your entire leg. It's not just one ligament that you strengthen over time. It's literally, multiple pieces of his knee that all come together that he just completely shredded. So to see him come back would be awesome, but for fantasy purposes, we just can't expect a whole lot. Now, another running back who got injured is Najee Harris, right? Dealing with a Liz Frank injury. He re-injured it, apparently, left the game. Jaylen Warren got a ton of snaps, a hot waiver wire pick, I'm sure, this weekend, getting Jaylen Warren, even though a lot of people in our Discord have been saying, get Jaylen Warren a long time ago. So if you're tapped in, you probably got a lot of shares of him. But the biggest thing is that against the Patriots, Troy, would you start Najee Harris? It sounds crazy to bench him, but he only had 8.6 fantasy points this week, which included a receiving touchdown, which basically means he did next to nothing without it. Where are you at with Najee Harris, and would you play him against the Patriots?
I would play Najee Harris against the Patriots. And I think, so obviously the injury, and I heard him in an interview. I think he said he's playing. I think he said he's fine. But, coming off the weekend, everyone's panicking, oh, my God, Najee. I feel like he's one of those guys where I feel like he can make it up, at least in the passing game, where even if he's not maybe efficient in running. So I believe, and he's trusted on the goal line, right? They give it to him on the goal line. So I would play Najee. I feel like this is a little bit different than the J.K. Dobbins situation, for example. He got a little banged up. If he's playing, what's up, LQ?
LQ in the building, 5 a.m. He made it. A little late, but he made it.
Late, But I say that if Najee's active, I'm playing him, because, again, it's kind of look at your team, right? There's not many people you could play over Najee Harris on your team that's going to be better. because you probably took him with at least your first or second round pick. If it's like, again, your standard, redraft league. So yeah, I'm playing Najee. If he's active, I'm playing.
Yeah, it's your first, maybe second round pick if you're lucky. You kind of have to play him. There's not really a whole lot you can do about it. But I'm definitely, I'm looking at it. I'm a little bit concerned. Another running back I'm concerned about is Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce I believe he only saw 27% of snaps, 28% of snaps in this game to Rex Burkhead. Yikes. You don't want to see that. Rookie running back supposed to be the starter, but Lovie Smith did come out and admitted that there was a plan to get Pierce the ball more. It just didn't really come to fruition, and they're going to try and get him more touches in the future. How do you feel about Dameon Pierce in his debut, and do you think he will get more touches going forward? Give some managers some hope for Dameon Pierce after they drafted him in the 5th, 6th round with all that hype about him being the starter.
I was about to say, I'll do my best to get y'all hope, man. But here's the thing. So Dameon Pierce was the preseason hotness, right? I always feel that most fantasy managers would always fall into this, okay, this rookie, he's named a starter, cool. And then that's why people draft him so high. And then he lets it absolutely, lays an egg pretty much for fantasy. And one of the concerns I have for Dameon Pierce is, he has a little bit of juice and all that, but Rex Burkhead isn't going away. And no. I think he's not going away, and he's clearly the guy. He saw 8 targets. So even if they give Dameon Pierce more work, is he going to eat into that target share? I don't think so. Maybe he'll get 2-3 targets at most, but clearly they trust Burkhead. And look, Burkhead is not sexy at all, but he's a solid running back. He does what coaches like for, running backs to do. And I know that's not great for fantasy, but for real life football, he does what the coaches want him to do. So he's going to see playing time. And as of right now, he's a good pass catcher. He's a good pass catcher. And Dameon Pierce, even in college, he wasn't a prolific pass catching running back. He was good on the 1s and 2s. So I think that I am concerned about Dameon Pierce in terms of his upside, because I feel he would need to be extremely efficient with his touches, because I don't see him going from the performance in week 1 to all of a sudden having 20 carries a game. I know that's what fantasy managers would like, but he would either have to be extremely efficient with his touches and, break off long runs, or he needs to score touchdowns, I feel, to be able to, pay up for your ADP. And I feel like as the season goes on, it is not going to matter what the ADP is, but we're only in week 1. So right now it's still
matters a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It still matters a little bit because you only have 1 weekend. So I am skeptical, and I don't know how they looked fine, but I think also when you're not a pass catching back, if you don't catch passes and you're not on a necessarily good team, and I feel like they're going to, and I know that game was weird in terms of how it ended and how it played out, but when they face better teams, and let's say they're trailing, is Dameon Pierce going to be the guy that's in the game if they're trailing?
Nope.
I don't know yet. Exactly. It's going to be most likely Rex Burkhead. Now, could that change? Maybe. But these are the reasons I'm a little skeptical.
No, I'm with you. I think they're all perfectly valid, right? This is a game that at one point they were up 20-3. And at that point, you think you're grinding it out with your running back. This is supposed to be your guy who's your starting running back. In games like this, teams that aren't that good like Houston, they want to run that clock. They want to win the game, and they just didn't really do that with Dameon Pierce, even though, in my opinion, he's the far more talented running back. Now, another running back who got injured over the weekend was Ty Montgomery, Patriots running back, who actually scored a touchdown. Now we're going to hopefully see Ramondre Stevenson in a full-time receiving role for the Patriots. Are you excited about that, Troy? Do you think that Ramondre can carve out a role outside of Damian Harris being the primary rusher in New England? And if so, do you even care? Because that team is so bad that they probably put up, 14 points a week if we're lucky. Mac Jones has an injured back. He might play. They're playing the goddamn Steelers this week. Like, how much can we really trust this Patriots offense? But how do you feel about Ramondre potentially stepping into that full-time pass-catching role in New England?
Possibly. And here's the thing. So I don't know if they're not just going to go with, I think, Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. They still have Pierre Strong, and I know he's not. I think he's going to be somewhat involved. I don't know if he's necessarily going to take away the passing down works. I think Ramondre, he's obviously going to be more involved, but kind of like what you referenced. What does that help me in fantasy? Ramondre,
and do we care, right?
And do we care? And just like they're going against the Steelers. Did y'all see what the Steelers just did to the Bengals, who are a much better team than the Patriots? Ramondre, if you have multiple flex spots, sure. I think if you're playing Ramondre, you're playing it for that's a floor rather than upside. I don't think he presents a lot of upside. So I think that's another thing to consider. If you're just looking for a floor play and you're hoping he catches some passes, sure. There's a lot of running backs that can do that, right? You might as well start like Naeem Hines or someone like that. But Ramondre, to me, is like, okay, what are you getting from that start? And I think that's what you really need to tell yourself. Like, hey, if I'm playing Ramondre, what upside does he bring? Not a whole lot, because I feel like on the goal line, it's still most likely going to be Damian Harris. He's going to get the goal line work, and Ramondre is going to be sprinkled in. But yeah, that performance. Look, the Dolphins' defense is good, but I was not expecting them to make that offense. I didn't. And look, when you have Matt Patricia calling plays, it doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence in terms of wanting to play those starters. It's absolutely disgusting all over the place. So.
Yeah, it's not good for as a Patriots fan and as someone who's been watching this unfold, it seems like for months now, waiting for some clarity on what could possibly happen. Ramondre is not looking like a great play, to your point, maybe some volume, but skim, like very slight touchdown upside. And the only saving grace is, thank God, TJ Watt probably won't be playing in this game. Torres Peck, apparently not that serious, could miss up of 6 to 8 weeks. Thankfully, it's looking like it's not a season-ending injury. But yeah, they made the Patriots look like shit, and frankly, they probably deserved that with how they looked all preseason. But the other last piece of news that I wanted to mention was the 49ers were trying out running backs yesterday. Devonta Freeman, Tevin Coleman, Abram Smith, Marlon Mack. Yes. So everyone wanted it to be Mason and TDP as potentially these guys who can be behind Jeff Wilson. But there's a small chance that the Niners do bring in an extra running back now that Elijah Mitchell is out 6 to 8 weeks. Troy, does that give you pause at all about even Jeff Wilson's role in this offense, knowing that they may bring in a veteran to this offense?
Absolutely. I'm not worried about Jeff Wilson. I feel like if he's healthy, he's the guy. He's proven to be the guy in the past, and he's proven to be trusted by the same. Look, it's still Kyle Shanahan.
Is that true?
They
signed Marlon Mack?
They did sign Marlon Mack to the practice squad. They signed him to the practice squad.
Spicy.
But look, guys, Marlon Mack ain't it, right? They just signed Marlon Mack for a death piece. So I'm not like, I feel like this does not. Don't get excited about Marlon Mack, guys. I feel like I know with San Francisco, I like to make the joke about it's anyone's game. It could, maybe Mason happens to be the guy. I don't know if he is, because let's kind of look at the situation. What just happened? So Elijah Mitchell, he got injured. The backfield was split between Deebo Samuel and Jeff Wilson. I believe Jeff Wilson had about 11 rushes. Deebo had about 8 rushes. And Mason had 0 because one, he just getting involved and he was, playing special teams. I know TDP was inactive. And then some people are saying that, TDP being inactive is actually good because he doesn't play special teams, whatever. So let's say he's activated, right? Yeah. How much of a role is he going to be? Because in Jordan Mason, right, someone has to play special teams. So I think Jordan Mason is going to be active. He's still going to play special teams, maybe be sprinkled in a bit. TDP maybe will be just active just to back up Jeff Wilson if he gets hurt. But just how much run does he get? I think it's going to be the Deebo and Jeff Wilson. Yeah, I think it's going to be the Deebo and Jeff Wilson show. I don't think you need to be worried about, especially don't be worried about Marlon Mack. Like, guys, he just got kicked off of Houston, who literally just has Dameon Pierce and Rex Burkhead. So to me, I think that should just tell you everything you need to know. Granted, I could be absolutely wrong and something could happen, but I think it's a Jeff Wilson show, and it's going to be until as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And yeah, there was that report as well that it was the fact that Jordan Mason was playing on special teams. That's why he was active over TDP, and TDP obviously not playing special teams, but that doesn't mean he can't be the primary backup this coming week. And again, they are playing Seattle. So it's worth mentioning, I'm a little skeptical about Trey Lance, but we saw how many receptions went the running backs' ways this week. So if we need a guy who's going to catch passes, you want to look to some of those guys, especially if you're looking at prop bets and things like that. There's lots of opportunities there. And I mentioned this, in a video in Monday Night Football about the receiving backs against Seattle. A lot of opportunity there in a way that Shanahan can take advantage of this defense. But let's get into the game that's on Thursday. Let's get into Thursday Night Football, Troy. We have the Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs at home versus Justin Herbert and the visiting Los Angeles Chargers. The Chiefs are favored by actually 4.5 now. The over-under is still 54.5. I just got to ask you, Troy, straight up, who's going to win this game? Is it going to be the Chiefs at home, or is it going to be the Los Angeles Chargers? They've hit the total of 54 in the last 3 games, and the Chargers have won each of the last 2 games in Arrowhead, which is very interesting when I looked that up. Where are you at with this game? Do you think the Chiefs can get a dub at home against their probably division rivals this season?
This is a way harder question than it should be. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are gonna find a way to get it done, and I think that last game, people were just absolutely disrespecting Patrick Mahomes all offseason. Like, oh, he has the Tyreek Hill. He's going to take a step back. People in fantasy are drafting him sometimes as the QB4, right? Most of the time he won as QB3. But I just think that, and just kind of like you said, they lost the last 2 times. I know in Arrowhead, I think the Chiefs find a way. Yeah, they'd be motivated. They'd be like, oh, and I don't think their defense is that great. I think the Chargers are overall a better team. But I feel like just given the situation, give me the Chiefs. I think, look, because the Chargers have the better defense as well as they have a very competent offense, or elite offense. But I feel like, the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes and, you have Travis Kelce. So I just think that the Chiefs find a way to get it done.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm with you. You got those 2 guys. You're starting them. It's going to be Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and in my opinion, Juju Smith-Schuster. Look at Ray giving us $150 super chat. My goodness, this guy's going off. Just blowing it up. Troy, you getting paid today. The guest always gets the super chats. So this is all for you, my friend. You'll have to get with Ray later about getting your super chat money. But the Chargers, the biggest thing people need to understand with this game script is that they were terrible against the run last season. They were god-awful. So this is the biggest thing that I was looking at coming into this season. They did bolster their defensive line to improve in that run game. In week 1, they only allowed 64 rushing yards, which was 5th best in the NFL. Now, it's only week 1. I'm not going to overreact crazy, but they were dead last in the NFL last year. So coming all the way up to 5th, even in week 1, I will take it. And I know that the Chiefs are probably not going to look to run a whole lot. I think this game will be close. I think it'll be a shootout. But are the Chiefs going to win convincingly? I don't know. But we know that Keenan Allen is probably not going to play. We know that Mike Williams was on a milk carton all last game. Do you think he's going to show up in this one, Troy? Because, Keenan Allen was out in the second quarter, and it should have been the Mike Williams show, and he just didn't show up. Do you think he will in this game against the Chiefs?
I feel he has absolutely no choice but to show up. If you can't show up in this game, and this is one of the most frustrating things about Mike Williams. I thought we deal with this every year. So let's look back to last year. He tore it up in the beginning of the season. It was him and Cooper Kupp. I don't know if y'all remember. It was Mike Williams and Cooper Kupp, the best wide receivers in fantasy football last year. Then all of a sudden, Mike Williams just does a disappearing act. And that's one. He's so inconsistent. I don't know why. He just got paid. He's just a big athletic receiver. You would think that he would just get the ball more or just put up fancy numbers more consistently, but for some reason he doesn't. So I feel that I'm playing him because if you're not going to play him in this situation where Keenan Allen's out, when are you going to play the guy, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at the other, wide receivers. You got Josh Palmer and DeAndre Carter. DeAndre Carter, he only had 4 targets, but he happened to score a touchdown, and that's what we like in fantasy football, touchdowns. And Josh Palmer didn't do – I thought he was going to be more involved, but I feel, look, there's an opportunity for both of the guys to step up. And then we'll see who carves out a role. We're looking for that wide receiver 3 and a high-flying offense. So I don't know if it's DeAndre Carter, but we can't forget about Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett scored a touchdown, so maybe he's the quote-unquote wide receiver 3 in this offense. So – I mean, I don't know how it's going to play out. If I was a betting man, I think Josh Palmer is more talented than DeAndre Carter. So I would probably lean that way, but that's my take on it.
Shorts disagrees with you. He thinks DeAndre Carter over Palmer. And
the
way it looked in that last game, I can't disagree.
If we're just looking at that last game, then yeah, DeAndre Carter you seem to be more involved, but in terms of talent-wise, James, do you think DeAndre Carter is more talented than Josh Palmer?
No, but again, it just depends on what is his role going to be in the offense. If Carter is the one who's taking this slot role, which is the available role right now, over Palmer, then that's going to be a bit of a problem, right? Everyone wants Josh Palmer to be a thing, but if Carter's the one that gets these targets, even if it's in the slot, then he's going to have value because that's the role that Keenan plays. And I think where you're right is that now they have not a whole week. They got 3 days to game plan with their personnel, right? Before it was spur of the moment. This is how we're going to play it. I think to a lot of people's points, it could be Everett who gets some of those slot targets, could be Carter, but they will at least have a game plan going into this game. Now, they're not ruling Keenan Allen out yet, but do not play Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Even if he is active, you should not be playing him. It's just not a good situation. So I would not do that. But yeah, I think that there could be a world where Josh Palmer does explode in this game. I think there's a lot of offense to be had against the Chiefs. They did look good, but Arizona's just bad. Like, they're bad on defense. They didn't look good on offense, so there's a lot of things working over there. But I do want to touch on the Chiefs a little bit because I loved what I saw from Juju this week. I was kind of all in on Juju this offseason. I believe that he could really be a guy who has a phenomenal year. And yes, he has Patrick Mahomes now instead of Ben Roethlisberger, but it still seemed like people weren't all the way in. And even MVS looked competent as well. We saw Sky Moore get involved. What are you expecting from this Chief offense? Do you really think Patrick Mahomes is going to have this, weekly approach, different guys every week? Who is it going to be? Or do you think that Juju can really carve out the role as the wide receiver 2 in that offense, obviously behind Travis Kelce?
I think that Juju can carve out that role, but I don't think Patrick Mahomes was lying that he's going to spread the ball around. Like Mecole Hardman scored, right? The forgotten man. He didn't get a lot of targets, and that's the thing that about the Chiefs, right? And we've even seen this in the past with Demarcus Robinson, right? There's always some random guy that happens to score a touchdown on the Chiefs. And he did spread the ball out to, I think, was it 8, 9 different pass catchers, in the game last week. So I think that Patrick Mahomes is not lying that the only constant is going to be Kelce, but I think Juju's the most talented wide receiver, quote unquote wide receiver on the team. So I think that he does have a role, and I'm playing Juju. Like, he's not somebody that I'm going to be sitting just because he is, to me, he is the wide receiver 1 on that team. He looked like the wide receiver 1 last week, and I think he's going to continue to get that opportunities. MVS, if you're looking for just like a upside flex play who just scores a long touchdown, pretty much if you're looking for Mecole Hardman of years past, play MVS, right? That's what you're playing MVS for. I don't see him as being a high volume target guy. If you're looking for the targets, I think I would be leaning to Juju. Sky Moore, we'll see if he can carve out a role. He obviously he's a rookie. He's got to earn it maybe throughout as the season goes on. We'll be talking about him more, but from week 1, I didn't see enough involvement with him where I'm going to elevate him just yet.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm in on the Chiefs. I think they're going to win this game. I love Juju. I think MVS is flex worthy. Then we'll see with the Chargers offense. Obviously, you're playing Justin Herbert. You're playing Eckler. We're not playing any of the backup running backs because we don't want to talk about Sony Michel and how he was involved, and that was gross. But I think, we'll see. It could be Palmer, and if you want to flex him at your own risk, obviously DeAndre Carter, same story there, but you want to start Mike Williams. You really have no choice. If he doesn't do anything in this game, he's just Mike Williams, and he sucks. Yeah. But either way, let's move forward because I do want to talk about your Dolphins. You touched on them a little bit. What do you hope to see from them in week 2? I'm assuming you saw the comment from Tyreek Hill about how he says that Mike McDaniels needs to get a wheelbarrow to walk around with his balls because they're so big. But where are you at with those two? Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua Tagovailoa, and more importantly, that running game that didn't look so good in week 1.
So let's talk about the running game. So in terms of rushing efficiency, it was not good. So Chase Edmonds, he rushed 12 times for 25 yards. And Raheem Mostert rushed 5 times for 16 yards. So, I would say that the Patriots D-line, and I feel like the Patriots defense isn't terrible. So I feel like that was part of it. I also feel that, Teron Armstead got hurt. So I feel that impacted the offensive line. As well as I know the Dolphins have kind of struggled. They have struggled running the ball in the years past. But I think that the bright side to Chase Edmonds, for example, right, is that he saw targets. He had 4 targets. He had 4 receptions, 4 targets for 40 yards. And that's the reason why you drafted Chase Edmonds. Not necessarily because he's a prolific rusher. You drafted him because he's going to catch passes. And I think that's going to be the constant. And Raheem Mostert, and I've been saying this all offseason. If you've been listening to me, I've been saying Chase Edmonds is the guy. Raheem Mostert. If anyone knows Mike McDaniel, because everyone knows Raheem Mostert is Mike McDaniel, right? He knows that he hasn't been able to stay healthy, and Raheem Mostert is explosive, but they're not going to trust him volume-wise. You're relying on efficiency. You're relying on him to break a huge run for a touchdown. Otherwise, he's almost not playable besides a flex play, right? Or like a bye week fill-in. Because he's just not going to get that consistent volume because they're trying to preserve him for the rest of the season because he's dealt with injuries for all of his career. But so the run game itself, it wasn't promising. I'm hoping to see more efficiency from the run game and hopefully more goal line opportunities for Chase Edmonds down the line. And Myles Gaskin, he was the RB3, did absolutely nothing. So no one's rostering him. But if you happen to be rostering him, don't, please. And in terms of, let me talk about the pass catchers. So Tyreek Hill was as advertised. He looked great.
Yeah.
8 receptions, 12 targets, 94 yards. He just unguardable. He looked unguardable. The Dolphins, and I liked what the Dolphins did. They put him all over the place in motion. He went out deep. He did curl routes. He went, so it was just all over the place. And that's what they want to do, right? They're going to scheme ways to get Tyreek the ball. He's an absolute bona fide wide receiver one on the team. That was not surprising to me. And Jalen Waddle, he was the one I was curious about his role in terms of how involved he would be. He got 5 targets, which is okay. He happened to score that long touchdown. He had 69 yards.
That was disgusting, though. Oh, my God.
But it wasn't just disgusting, but I think what people need to realize is that throw by Tua was excellent. Between 2 defenders to Jalen Waddle, because everyone remembers the run by Jalen. Yeah, he just burned them, but that throw, he threaded the needle between those 2 receivers and got it to Jalen Waddle. And just like you said, Mike McDaniel had big balls on 4th and 7. On 4th and 7, that throw, that play, it was incredible. And I think that's what we're going to see more for Jalen Waddle, the yak, right? Because he's not going to be the target leader on this team. We're not going to see what we saw last year where he's just going to get constant targets. But I think because of Tyreek Hill, that's going to allow Jalen Waddle to be more open, to make big plays like that. So I'm excited from that perspective. But yeah, the offense itself, it looked good. I feel like we should have scored more touchdowns. We only scored 1 offensive touchdown. So
yeah,
against Baltimore, I'm a little nervous. If I'm a betting man, I bet Baltimore to win. But I'm curious to see how the offense plays against them.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think to your point, it's week 1. It was against the Patriots, a big game for them to win, especially at home. You want to win that game always against a division opponent. But I'm still weary because, again, if you get a team that can shut down them in the passing game, which will be very difficult, the running game didn't look good enough to kind of supplement what they could do in the passing game. So I'm curious to see how McDaniel obviously navigates that, and hopefully they can get that running game going a little bit. But Troy, we have a massive announcement today. People are talking about it in the chat. They're wondering why Ray isn't here. I kicked Ray off the stream today because I wanted to do a show with you exclusively, and I wanted to have you on for the big announcement. So let's get into it right now.
It's the Warren G. Seen a car full of girls, ain't no need to tweak. All you search know what's up with 213.
Any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star and don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
For everybody who doesn't know what was going on, that was Suge Knight as Ray GQ as Suge Knight telling everybody to join Destination Devi. Troy King, you and Laquan Jones, editorial researcher for the NFL Network, will be doing a show for us live here on this YouTube channel every Tuesday from 7 to 8. Please, Troy, tell the people what you and LQ are going to be doing. Fire content only, thirsty players of the week. I don't know what the hell you guys are going to get up to, but I'm excited to see you guys put it all together. It will be starting next week. Troy, tell the people what you and LQ got cooking up for the channel.
No, absolutely, man. Laquan Jones, to see you. He's been in the chat. But yeah, so me and my friend Laquan Jones, we're going to be doing every Tuesday, 7 to 8. We're going to be doing a Monday night recap for y'all, as well as we're going to be looking sort of towards the week ahead, right? Because everyone wants to know what players are going to pop off. So we got segments like Fire Content Only. That's my boy LQ's favorite phrase. So that's going to be talking about players that are going to exceed expectations. We also have segments like Worst Thirst, right? So players that might be, quote unquote startable, but I think they're going to let you down. So we're going to talk about that, as well as we're going to be diving into the waiver wire. Tuesday's a waiver wire day. So we got to talk about your waiver wire picks, how much you should be spending on guys and all that. So we're going to make sure that you guys are putting in the correct waiver wire claims, targeting the right guys. So we're just here to help you, man. We're here to help you get better at fantasy. Look, you got JR, you got, Ray in the mornings. You got us in the evenings, man. We're going to get you right for the week. But yeah, I'm excited to be part of Destination Devi, hanging out with y'all, man. It's a huge opportunity, and I'm so excited to be, part of this journey with y'all.
Yeah, we honestly, Troy, both of us were super excited to get you guys on the channel. Obviously, everyone in the chat is loving it. They're super excited. So this will, some people were asking, it will be a PM show, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Yes.
It will be live on this YouTube channel, and it will also drop on the Destination Devy Radio Podcast Network. Make sure you go in the description of this video and you are following Troy and LQ, because they are going to be putting out, like LQ says, fire content only. We are super excited to have them on. But Troy, I just want to say thank you to you. I honestly, one of the people that I've wanted to do a show with for a long time. So it was great to have you on. Really appreciate you getting up with me today. Is there any final words you want to say to the people before we get out of here?
No, I just want to say, look, guys, if you like the content, follow me at T King Mode. Twitter's my home base, but you can find me at T King Mode pretty much on all social media platforms. And yeah, like I said, Destination Devy crowd. Like, I love y'all. I've been part of y'all. I've been rocking with this show for about 2 years. So, I'm in the comments too, waking up with Ray G and Jay Rich. So I just appreciate y'all. I'm excited to be on this journey with you guys. I'm excited to help you guys win championships, help you guys make right decisions. And I'm just glad to be part of the family, man. I can't wait to ride.
Thank you so much, Troy. We obviously really appreciate you having you on. And thank you, everyone who tuned in. Make sure you drop me a like and subscribe for future content. Sub to the newsletter, sub to the podcast feed, and get excited because there is more stuff coming in the works. Ray and I will be back on Friday breaking down the entire weekend slate and talking what happened on Thursday Night Football. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on Friday. I'm out. Peace.